In this episode of the Decluttering Club podcast, we're going to talk about how to declutter ruthlessly before a move. If you're getting ready to move, or if you know someone who is, you're going to want to listen in on this one.
You are listening to the Decluttering Club Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mueller, and it's my mission to equip women to declutter their homes, their time, and their lives so that they can cherish what truly matters.
You are listening to the Decluttering Club podcast, episode number 37. Today, we're going to talk about how to declutter before a move. Anybody moving? Are any of you moving right now? I think that moving is one of the most stressful things you can do, but it's also the perfect time to declutter. You can use this to your advantage in a huge way. Moving will get you off the couch, moving and packing, and the idea of moving all that stuff, that will light a fire under you like nothing else. So that is what we're going to talk about today. All right. So I moved into this current house. It's been a little over 10 years now. And it was so interesting when we moved because for several months, we didn't know if the sale of our previous house was going to go through or not. So I had kind of started packing. I had started packing in advance, and this was kind of at the beginning of my decluttering era. So I had already gotten excited about decluttering, but we had so much stuff. And I honestly had kind of given up that the sale of our house was going to go through. So I didn't think we were really going to move. And, I was like, well, I'm kind of prepared, but also I don't think it's going to happen. So I was not as prepared, and I had not packed the way that I would have if things were running on schedule. So what happened was, when we finally did end up moving, I had about 3 days, 2 to 3 days to finish packing a 4-bedroom house with 6 people in it. 2 days. It was a nightmare. It was really incredibly awful. And we had a moving company. We had to do all the packing. And like I said, I thought I had decluttered until we started to pack and move. And it was really, it was like one of the most stressful things that I have ever done. All right. And I tell you this because I want to share my experiences with you. And because when you use a move in a useful, productive way, you can use it to let go and get rid of a lot of things. All right. So I want to tell you first why I think moving is the perfect time to declutter. Like, absolutely the most perfect time. All right. The first reason that moving is the perfect time to declutter is if not now, then when? Like, if you don't let a few things go, and hopefully a lot of things go when you're moving, then when would you let them go? Like, what better reason is there to let things go? Moving is the perfect time. When you're moving, you are getting a fresh start. And I don't care if you're moving down the street or across the country. Maybe you're downsizing, maybe you're upsizing, maybe you're just moving to a new place. It is a fresh start. And with a fresh start, first of all, we frequently will want some new things. Now, I'm not saying you have to get rid of everything. Don't get all mad at me and tell me that I'm ruining the planet. Okay, that's not what I'm saying here. But in general, it is a good time to consider new things in some areas. Okay, you're going to want a new things. But the flip side is also true, right? So when we are in new environments, we are often emotionally available to the idea of letting things go. It's a little bit like the new year. The new year is the time when people are more willing to let things go. The same thing happens when you're moving. And again, maybe you are downsizing and that is going to give you additional motivation. You have to get rid of half your stuff. Like, okay, that's pretty clear. If you're going to a place that's half the size of your current one, you're probably going to have to let some things go, or you're going to want to let some things go. You don't have to. Let me correct myself there. But it is intrinsically motivating. Your brain is going to be willing to let things go. It's a new place. It's a fresh start. Why not let things go and get some new things, or not? You may discover you don't have to replace the things that you let go of. You may discover that you're going to get along just fine without them, which is a wonderful, wonderful discovery. Okay, the next reason that you will want to declutter before a move is that things are not going to fit the same in your new place that they did in your old place, right? Unless it's a carbon copy, things are different. The layout of your house is probably going to be different. Your needs are going to be different. Maybe it's a different climate, right? Maybe you have kids leaving the house. Maybe you have a new baby on the way. Things are going to be different in the new place. And so, what worked great in your old house might not be so great in the new one. And you can try to make it fit, but frequently it's just never quite as good. And when I say fit, it could be fitting from, just a plain old space perspective. Maybe it's the couch is the wrong shape. Maybe you need a different couch or something smaller or bigger for your new space. Or maybe it's like the style, like that whatever you have works great and it fits the decor of your current house. But in the new place, you're like, this is really not a great fit, right? So you really want to be aware of that. Things are going to look different in your new place. I promise you this. Okay, here's the next reason, and this is a huge one. Listen to me on this one. This one is so, so important. When you move something, or let's say when you declutter something before a move, you save yourself 4 times the effort. 4. This work of letting go will pay you back 4 times over. And here's how that works. Okay. So let's say we're talking about a couch. Okay. And let's say you decide to let go of the couch. And I don't care how you do that. You know this, right? There are lots of choices that you can make to let it go. I will leave that up to you, but you let go of that couch. Now you've saved yourself 4 times the work because, first of all, you don't, well, okay, with a couch is 3 times, but with something smaller, you don't have to pack it. Okay, packing is the first time you're going to touch that item. If it's a piece of furniture, well, I guess you might be wrapping it. But the packing is the first step. Then the moving, then the unpacking, right? And then the storage, right? So if it's something like, let's say it's craft supplies. Let's move to craft supplies. If you let them go, and again, it doesn't have to be all of them. How about part of them? How about half of them? 10%, right? You can let go of part of it. If you let go of those craft supplies, now you don't have to pack them, you don't have to move them, you don't have to unpack them, and then you don't have to store them. That is a four-fold return on your decluttering work. That's pretty darn good if you ask me. 4 times, right? And that is why moving is such a perfect catalyst for decluttering because it is so much work to move it, right? And you may be freaking out. Maybe it's causing you a little bit of stress to hear me talk about this. You need to hear this now. If moving is in your future, this is critical for you to hear and understand in advance. Okay, I don't want to be the bearer of doom and gloom, but the reality is that moving is already stressful enough. There's already enough things to do that the more that you can do yourself a favor in advance, the more you're going to just reap those rewards, and the more grateful you're going to be when the time comes. Okay, so a fourfold increase in return on the investment of decluttering. All right, the next reason is that you don't know what's in those cupboards. I promise you, unless you have looked through them in the last 3 to 6 months, you don't know what's there. We all think we know what's in all of our storage spaces, in our cupboards, in our closets, in our basements. I'm telling you, you don't. You're going to forget. Things are going to show up there. You're not going to know how they got there. And so if you just move everything by default, you're moving stuff that you are not aware of. And why would you want to do that? It's taking up space, and that space is very, very precious. Okay, unless you have unlimited space, you're going to want that space. You're going to need that space in the future, right? We always say, well, what if I need the thing? And I'm like, what if you need the space? Right? You can always replace things, but if the space is full, then we're out of luck. Then the stuff ends up on the floor and we're walking around it. We don't want that to happen. Okay, so you don't know what's in your spaces and you want to take a look and then you want to make choices on purpose. So don't just move everything. And this is what happens. Let's say if you have a company that's doing the packing for you, they will pack everything. They will wrap up, and carefully preserve and pack even you know, like empty soda cans or stuff that you would be like, oh, I was actually meaning to throw that away. I didn't mean to keep that. They don't know, right? And so their default is to pack it all and move it all. And you can end up packing and moving like just absolute quantities of stuff that you don't really want. And so take a look at what you have. Just take a look because you might be pleasantly surprised and think, oh, I didn't know this was here. And that's not an excuse. That's not an opportunity to beat yourself up and say, oh my God, how did this happen? How did I not know it was in my closet? I'm telling you, everybody is like this. None of us know unless we have intentionally looked and organized in the recent past. We don't know what's there. And so this is just a chance for you to free up space. This is good news, not bad news. Okay? Stick with me on that one. Okay. The next reason that you want to declutter before a move is you are going to have more than you think. You're going to think it's going to fit in the truck. The moving company will be like, yeah, no problem. I'm telling you, you guys, everybody's wrong because your stuff expands. When you take it out of the nooks and crannies and the cupboards and the dressers, and it all gets collected and ready to move, it expands. It's like, it's like something that was vacuum sealed, right? You've probably put things away very carefully and or maybe not carefully, but they've been shoved in those storage spaces. And when you take them out and get ready to pack them, they multiply. It's like rabbits. So you might think, well, we don't really have that much stuff. Like, look around, our house isn't really that cluttered. But when stuff comes out of the storage spaces or when you collect it all, it is way more than you think. And it's going to take more time than you think. It's going to take more space than you think to move, to pack. And you're never going to get back into your storage spaces in the same way. Or if you do, it's going to take a whole lot of time. It's going to be really stressful. So I would suggest and offer that maybe you want to have a default of letting things go and pick a percentage. Maybe you want to let go, a dumpster full of stuff or 20% or half. Decide that up front because I'm telling you, you got more stuff than you think, and it's going to take up more room than you think it does. I know this because this is exactly what happened to us when we moved our house. We had a moving company and they came beforehand and they looked through our house and they noted down all kinds of measurements and how many boxes each room was going to take. Do you know that we filled up that moving truck and it was the biggest one they had. It was like this giant 18-wheeler. We filled it up and there was still stuff left over. Like a lot of stuff. And we ended up calling up a good friend of ours and they had a trailer. So we loaded stuff on the trailer and they made several trips. Luckily, it was a local move. They made several trips with this trailer and then we still had more stuff. And we ended up giving some, like asking the neighbors if they would take it off our hands. And some of it ended up on the street, right? And at that point, you're moving. You don't have the luxury of deciding and carefully planning and choosing what to leave on the street and what to take with you. Like at that point, you're just like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like I can't be choosy anymore. That is a luxury. And so you want to take advantage of that luxury beforehand. Right now is the time to experience the luxury of deciding and being intentional. So you want to make the most of that opportunity because when moving day comes, like all bets are off and you just kind of go with whatever, you're like, I don't care. And everything gets thrown together and stuff may be left on the street. All right, the next thing is fragile things may not survive the move. So if you have something that's very fragile, or maybe it's not in good condition, maybe it's a piece of furniture, a table, a couch, maybe it's crystal glassware, it frequently does not survive the move. And so if you're like, I don't know if this is going to make it, why not get rid of it up front? Because if you decide to take it with you, then you've moved it and now you have to get rid of it on the other end. And you're going to have enough to do on the other end in the new place. So, if something is questionable or not in good condition, now is the time to let it go and get rid of it. And again, save yourself all of that trouble, that 3 or 4-fold investment. The next thing is that sometimes it's actually cheaper to give something away and then replace it on the other end, right? And again, this could be like large items, is typically large items. Furniture, sporting goods, lawn equipment, yard tools. If they're very big, then you may actually be better off in decluttering right now at your old place and then maybe replacing at your new place. You can get exactly what's going to work best for the new place. And you're going to have new items, right? You're not going to pay the cost of transport and also the cost in terms of time and space in your moving truck. And you'll have something new on the other end. And the thing is, you may discover, you know what, we actually don't need to replace that thing like we thought we would, but you know what, we're good without it. Um, when you let things go, frequently you discover, I didn't need that anyway. I wasn't using it. And maybe I'll wait to replace it, or maybe I won't replace it at all. And then that's just a bonus on top. All right, the next reason to declutter before a move is that you have a deadline, and it's probably a hard deadline. It is not moving, and deadlines are incredibly motivating. A deadline is outside of you, right? You can't just be like, "Oh, I don't feel like moving this week. I think I'll do it in a month." That does not work, right? We all know that those kinds of things are motivating, and we kind of all have our tolerance for, when do we get up off the proverbial couch and get moving, right? For some people, it may be like they start to panic a month out. Other people might be like really, really uncomfortable 3 months out and they maybe start moving. Other people, maybe they wait until a week, until they're moving in a week. It doesn't really matter, but that deadline is going to be really motivating to you. And if you do push it off and kind of ignore it and not think about it, right? Our brains don't like to be uncomfortable. And so we will ignore these kinds of things and procrastinate because it feels so painful to think about packing and moving and decluttering. But sooner or later, the discomfort of waiting, right, is going to overpower the discomfort of doing the work. And so you will get moving and get busy. And so what I want to suggest to you is maybe you do that up front. You do that a little bit sooner, or hopefully a lot sooner, because you're going to go through that discomfort either way. So if you can do it sooner, you're actually going to save yourself a lot of suffering, right? You can like front load your discomfort, right? If you know I'm going to be really stressed out by this, let me get that out of the way and over with, and then I'll have more time to, to spend on this move or to spend on some other things, or even just to not have to worry about it. If you know it's all squared away and you've done your decluttering work and things are packed and you still have time before your move, then that is a beautiful thing. And that's available to all of you, even you procrastinators. I want to suggest that you can use that discomfort, that negativity to your advantage when it comes to moving. Okay? And here's how it works. We don't like to be doom and gloom. I don't like to go to the worst case scenario, but it can be useful. Okay? And you can use it to your advantage. And the way you do it is this. You imagine what happens if I do nothing here? What happens if I wait until a week before my move? What's it going to be like? And I want you to really spend a little time imagining that. What's it going to feel like? What's your house going to look like? Think about that. Envision that in your brain and then think, you know what? I do not want to put myself through that. I don't want to do that to myself. And so I'm going to start earlier. I'm going to start earlier and I'm going to let some things go. I'm going to start packing. I'm going to have the luxury. Having that time is a luxury. I have the luxury of planning and of taking my time so that I do not suffer the week before my move. Okay. And if you've ever moved and you've had a horrible experience with it, then you know what I'm talking about. You can use that to your advantage, right? Like that freight train is coming, but you can get out of the way if you want. And all you have to do is get up and get moving. Now, a lot of people have a hard time. They're like, yes, I hear you, but also I'm overwhelmed and I'm paralyzed. Okay. If that is you, we're going to talk about how to declutter before a move, but in general, you want to get yourself some support. You want to make a plan. You want to zoom in, and you can make progress. Hopefully, you're one of our members in our membership. We can support you there. We have a process called the Done and Dusted planning process. We have a training and a workbook that goes along with that. So if you are a member, make sure you take advantage of that and bring your plan to the group because we can support you and help you with any troubleshooting that you need. The next thing I want you to know is that even if you declutter before a move, right? I decluttered before my move 10 years ago. My boyfriend just moved into a new place and he did a lot of decluttering and he didn't have a whole lot of stuff to begin with. Do you know that you always find things that you moved and you're like, why did we move this? I can't even remember why I wanted to move this. And so you're going to find stuff on the other end that you wish you hadn't moved. So just do it up front. Let it go in advance. I feel like it always happens that we have that regret of like, why did I move this? Why did I think that was important to me? And again, you're going to be in a new place. You're going to be looking at your possessions with new eyes. And so just try to do that in advance. And if you're on the fence about something, if you're like, maybe should we bring this to our new house? If you're asking those questions, I'm going to say the answer is no, right? If that is a possibility in your brain, then make the answer no, we should not bring it, and let's get rid of it right now so that we don't have to worry about it later. You're going to save yourself so much trouble because if you have to declutter it afterward, not only have you packed it, moved it, unpacked it, and maybe put it away, now you have to declutter it. So that's even more work, or you keep it and then it sits there and takes up precious, precious space. So let it go, like be more ruthless than you normally would be when you're moving. Your back and your mental health will thank you for it. You know this, I know this, and I can't underscore it enough. All right. What is not a good reason to move something? I have some suggestions here for you. These are all not good reasons to pack something up and move it. Are you ready? All right, the first one is we've moved it before. We moved it before. We might as well keep moving it even though we didn't use it. No. No, this is not a good reason, right? The past is in the past, but you don't have to keep perpetuating those decisions that you regret. You don't. It doesn't redeem a decision to keep pushing it forward, okay? Think about if would I buy this again today? And if the answer is no, then let it go. The next one is a big one, just in case. I'm going to move this just in case. I'm going to move this just in case I want to have, a party for 20 people. Or just in case I decide to take up skiing again, I'm going to move my skis. Or just in case I want to do that gardening that I really haven't wanted to do in the last 10 years. No, 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 no. Moving, fresh starts, new opportunities. Don't try to bring the past with you. Okay, bring the things that are meaningful to you. Bring the things that you love, that are special, that you're using. But don't bring those just in case things because if you didn't need it at your current home, you're certainly not going to need it in your future one. So, like I encourage you to listen for my voice when that one pops up for you and just say no. Sometimes people think I will move this and I will sell it later. And they may have all the good reasons. It's going to be a better place to sell things. I'll have more time, which is a lie, as we all know. It makes more sense to sell it later. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, if you don't want to sell it now, you're probably not going to want to sell it later. Okay. And so I'm going to say that is not a good reason. Now, again, this is my advice. You just take it or leave it, but look out for because that one sounds like wisdom. It's very sneaky. It sounds like very logical. Yes. Oh, yes. We will sell this later. No, that is procrastination disguised as wisdom, and it's a lie. Don't fall for that one. All right, this is a variation on the I'll sell it later one, is that so and so needs it, right? I'm going to move this because I think so and so said that they wanted it or that they need it, right? Or so and so wants me to move it and they can't come get it right now. No, 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 no. You have a four step process to get the thing from the old house to the new house. So we don't want to be making extra work for ourselves. You're going to have enough work as it is, bringing the things that you use. Do not let those maybes, those just in cases, and it might be nice, don't let that add on to your workload, right? If so and so wants you to move it, they should move it. They should take it. It doesn't matter if they don't have time, right? Frequently, this is situations where people have left things and it's been months or years, and they're making decisions about what you keep in your house and about your workload. And you don't have to say yes to that. That is completely optional for you, and it is completely appropriate to say, I'm not taking this with me. If you want to come get it, let me know when. Here's my deadline, and make sure the deadline for that person to come get their things is well in advance of your move, because you don't want to be messing with it, the day before you're trying to pack up the moving truck, right? So give them a deadline, and chances are, if they haven't come and gotten it yet, they really don't want it. They just want you to be the one that stores it for them, right? You're doing them a favor, right? But you don't have the luxury. Again, this is a luxury. We don't have the luxury of doing that kind of favor when we are moving, because the truth is they don't want it. If they did, they would have come to get it. So watch out for that one and don't fall for it. All right, and then the last item that is not a reason to move something. This I want you to use your judgment on it, but consider this one carefully. And it's, I'm not ready to let this thing go. I'm not ready, right? We think that there's going to be a magical moment when we're ready. And sometimes that happens for sure. In fact, it may happen in your new place because, again, you're in a new environment, it's a fresh start. But frequently, this is just like, I don't feel like it right now, and I think that in the future I will. And I'm telling you, that really doesn't happen, right? And so if it's something that you think you, quote unquote, should let go of, but you're just not ready, right? Then I want to offer to you that maybe now is the time to get ready. Now is the time to say, I'm not ready and I'm going to do it anyways. Or I don't quite feel ready, but I'm going to make myself ready. We can just decide to let things go. Sometimes we do things that we don't really want to do because we want the end result more, right? You may let something go that you still love, that you're still attached to, that's still in good condition. You can still let those things go because you have a more important reason. So be really, really careful on this one. And I encourage you to stretch yourself, because moving, again, is the perfect time for new environments, new things, new habits. And this is a great opportunity to let some of those things go that we were maybe hanging on to, again, because we're like, I'm just not ready. Well, you don't get ready unless you intentionally get yourself ready. It doesn't just happen to you. So look out for that one and don't let it fool you. All right, next question. Should I sell things? Like, maybe I should sell stuff. Should I have a garage sale? Should I sell things on Marketplace? Should I sell things on, any of the places, eBay, Craigslist, whatever? I'm going to say, if you want to, right, with the following conditions. First of all, you got to want to do it. If you don't want to and someone else wants you to, it's a no. All right. Again, it is a luxury. Moving, stressful, very, going to take more time than you expect. And so selling things may not be something that fits into your equation. So you really need to want to do it. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to offer to you is, have you sold things in the past before? Like, do you have any experience with it? If you don't, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't sell things, but just be aware selling is going to take more time than you think it is, especially when you're new at it, and it may be more hassle than it's worth. Okay. I want to make sure that you have adequate time. So I would say if you have at least a month before your move, and preferably at least 3 months. Otherwise, I would not do the selling route, or maybe I would only sell like the very, very, very top things. Okay, the big things. We want to get the big things out of the doors. if possible beforehand. So if you can sell some furniture, amazing. If you're talking about, I don't know, like little, like jewelry, right? Jewelry is going to be really compact. It's not hard to move. So don't focus in on selling jewelry right before your move. That's not a good use of your time. All right, now let's talk some practical specifics. How to declutter before your move. Right. The first thing is I want you to stop stocking up on things, and preferably you stop stocking up 3 to 6 months in advance. So whether it's cleaning supplies or toilet paper or, new towels or whatever, don't buy stuff right before you move. Try to run out of stuff. If you can run out of it, you don't have to move it. And, okay, some of you don't like to run out of things. You're like, what about 2020 and COVID? Okay, fine. But you know what? It's not the end of the world if you run out of, some cleaning solution. Like you will figure it out. But you're going to be really glad if you don't have to move gallons and gallons of laundry detergent and pallets of tissues and toilet paper. Like let it get down to a lower level. Maybe it means you have to pay a little bit more attention. Maybe, here's the thing that some of you aren't going to like. Maybe it means you pay a little bit more, right? If you buy the smaller package of toilet paper, it costs a little more than the pallet, the per unit cost. But I'm telling you, it's okay to spend 50 cents more on toilet paper. It's not going to break your budget. Okay. So stop stocking up. The next thing to do, be ruthless. Like this is the theme here. Let's be ruthless. You don't want to move that stuff. You don't want to unpack it. So let it go in advance when it's going to free up your time and your space. It's easier to be ruthless when you're moving because you have that deadline looming, right? You have that kind of that monster breathing down your neck. Use that to your advantage and be ruthless. Okay, the next thing is you want to look for the large things to let go of. Furniture, again, sporting equipment, lawn tools, lawn furniture. Like what's big? What are the big things that you can declutter and let go of? Get rid of those first if possible, because, if you can get rid of a couch, like think about all the room that frees up in your moving truck. Look for big things. Don't spend your time, let's say, going through paperwork, because the time spent on that to the amount of volume that you're going to get rid of is probably minimal versus letting go of, lawnmowers and skis and golf clubs and couches and tables, right? It's going to be exponentially a bigger return on your investment in time if you let go of the big stuff. So look for the big things that you can let go of. Ask yourself, do I really want to pack and unpack this? Do I really, really want to do that? Right? Like imagine yourself packing this item. Maybe you're not super attached to it. You're like, but so and so gave it to me. Or but I kind of like it, or but I won't have anything to wear, which is also a lie, by the way. Ask yourself, do I really want to pack this and unpack this? And just be honest. If the answer is yes, then pack it up and take it with you. But if the answer is, you know what, not really, not really, then use that as your motivation to let it go. I want you to be picky. I think so often we consider ourselves picky, but what that means is we want a million options. We want like the 20 or 50 pairs of jeans because we're like, I'm not quite sure which one I want. And we think that's being picky. But I think that's actually the opposite of picky because we're keeping all of these things that are not quite fitting the bill. We're keeping things that are not quite right. And so instead, I want you to go and be like, what are the things that are just right? Those are the things I want to take. And everything else that's just kind of ho-hum, that needs to go. Someone else could use it. It's taking up precious space in your home. It's taking up your attention and your time. And so let's be picky with our space, our time, and our attention, and what we wear and consume and use. Let's be picky in those areas and let all those things that don't make the cut, they need to go. Next tip, if it is broken, if it is worn out, if you don't really like it, if it's used up, even if it's partly used up and you're not using it, those are things to let go of. And those are things to let go of really at any time. But again, during the move, it is that much more imperative to let it go and use that as a guide, right? If you don't really like something, perfect excuse to let it go. Maybe in the past you'd have been like, it's really not bothering anybody by sitting here. not bothering anybody by sitting there, but it may be bothering you when you have to pack it and move it and unpack it. So use that as additional motivation to let things go. All right, and the last tip here is to use constraints for what you take and what you don't take, what you declutter. Right. And you can use constraints in the following ways, right? Constraints are decisions ahead of time. You can decide this is the amount of space we have in the moving truck, and whatever doesn't fit isn't going, period. And again, so you can be intentional about it and you can, like load the truck first with the important stuff. Or you can do what kind of happened to me, which was that, we decided what at the end of the day, at the end of our move, we just decided okay, it's not on the truck now. We have to ditch it. We have to leave it on the street. That was how we fulfilled that constraint with those last things that came out of the house. And that is not a fun place to be. So think ahead of time. Like, what do we have room to take? How many boxes of books do we have room to take? How many toys do we have room to take? How much stuff do we have the time for? Do we have the space for in the truck and space for in the new house? Speaking of toys, this is an area that also comes up because people feel so bad. They're like, oh, my kid wants everything. My kid doesn't like to get rid of things. And I get it, right? A lot of people don't like to get rid of things. But this is an opportunity to explain, you know what? We're moving to a new place. We're going to take your most favorite things, right? We don't have room for everything. That's okay. That is just the way that the world works. So we're going to let some things go. Maybe we'll be a little sad. That's okay too, right? You don't have to try to get your kid to not feel sad about letting things go. Let them be sad. Be sad with them, right? Empathize with them, but also just let them know we can't take everything. Let's not use the word can't. We don't have room to take all of these things with us. So let's figure out what are the most important ones for you. And then if you want, you can help them to imagine, who's going to, what child is going to find the things that we don't have room for and they're going to enjoy it, right? And help paint that picture for them too, right? Moving is stressful. Moving can be sad. It can be emotional. And so let your kids experience that. Don't make them think that they have to change their feelings about that. Sit with them in that and also help them look forward to new beginnings. So just to summarize here, moving is stressful. Your time, your stuff, your plans, they will expand to fill the time that you have. So start now. Do yourself a favor, whether you've got 1 year or 1 week. Now is the time to start thinking about this, making a plan, and letting things go. Your back and your body and your brain, they will all thank you for this work that you are doing right now. It's going to pay off over and over and over again. And you're going to enjoy your new place. It's going to be all fresh and new. That is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to this one. This was a good one. I hope you like it. If this was helpful to you, if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or just leave a comment on our YouTube channel, that would be amazing. I'll see you next week, everyone. Take care. That's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this podcast, would you leave us a review? It would really help us get the word out. To start your decluttering journey, go to thedeclutteringclub.com. That is declutteringclub.com. I'll see you next time.